Welcome to Telling the Tale. I'm your host, Mitchell Farley Wolf, and I'm here as per usual with my co-host, Dustin Jackson. Hey, Dustin, how's it going?
It's going great, Mitchell. I don't have a joke this week because today is kind of a weird one, and my schedule's all thrown off. And I've got these like weird hives, and I'm experiencing vertigo. So, you know,
are
no
those
time
last
for a
two
joke
real? I
this
didn't
week.
know about those last two.
No.
Oh, good.
No, we're recording later than normal, and I just barely got home, and I did not have time to think of a funny little intro joke.
Yeah, well, I'm glad
Them's the breaks.
I'm glad you were just stealing valor from the hives lobby and not actually suffering from hives.
Thanks.
Dustin, I played a little video game recently.
Oh yeah? What was it called?
Mirror's Edge.
Wow, I've heard of that one.
I played another one. You want to know this one too?
No, but go ahead and tell me.
Beyond the Alley of the Dolls.
I played that one too.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah, I think.
Oh, we can probably make this episode about that then. I was hoping we both played Mirror's Edge, but we can... It's fine.
Better luck next week.
Yeah, better luck... One of these days, it's going to be about Mirror's Edge.
It's just going to happen to sync up.
Yeah. I mean, we're both always playing Mirror's Edge, just not at the same time. So...
I played it back on Tuesday. Maybe next time.
I'll hit you with a very thin opening feeling I had from the game.
Ooh.
Which is, this episode feels much shorter than other episodes.
Really?
To me, it did. By the time I finished it, it turned out that it wasn't. It was a little shorter than other episodes in this season, but not like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Do you think it's because time flies when you're having fun?
No. I think it's because of the act structure.
This episode does have a very interesting, weird act structure to it.
Yeah. But before we get into that, I'll just say, I liked it. Do you like it?
Yeah, I like this episode a lot. I feel like there's a lot of very interesting... I did feel that, too. It felt like... I wasn't quite sure, like, at what point in the episode I was a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy just about everything in the episode.
Yeah, so... I like it a lot. It definitely feels... Let me know if you agree or disagree with this. This feels like the largest scope of a story.
Totally. Especially in the last act of it.
Yeah.
But even before that, just like having all these Sam clones, I feel like the scope feels bigger, at least to me, because we don't know the reach that these Sam clones get. Like, these Sam clones could be everywhere. This could be like a worldwide thing, it kind of feels like to me. It's, it's never really implied that it is, that you never see outside of the town, you just see the Sam clones around. But it feels like this is like a big thing going on.
To compare this very interesting video game to a slightly less interesting but more popular and well-known article of pop culture, this episode is a lot like Avengers Infinity War in terms of like being really the big battle of Sam and Max, the big bad guy of the Devil's Playhouse series is revealed. And I'll tell you it right now. It's Charlie Hotep. It's the puppet.
Oh no. Not Charlie Hotep.
And
really? Avengers bigger than Sam and Max? Okay.
Well, they're both owned by people.
I guess that's true.
I was going to say they're both owned by Disney, but then I remembered that LucasArts doesn't own Sam and Max. But Steve Purcell does work at Disney, or Pixar specifically.
Yeah, he works at Pixar. And I think Disney does own Sam and Max Hit the Road. Just not the IP.
I wonder if... I wonder how much Steve Purcell is an individual, though, with his IP ownerships now that he works at Pixar. Because I would not be surprised if just, I don't know, Disney's a very litigious company in that way. Maybe they own part of it now somehow.
I would think not, just because, we were able to get that VR game. We got these remasters.
Yeah, you're right. Disney's name would be on that somehow if that mattered. Man, Pixar should make a Sam and Max movie.
I'd be for it.
I don't know how that hasn't happened.
The only Pixar movies that I know for a fact that Steve Purcell worked on are kind of some of the lesser ones. Like, obviously not his fault. He works in the animation part of it.
Maybe his fault.
It's possible.
Let's lay all our cards on the table. I don't know.
Purcell...
Could have been his fault.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to jump to conclusions.
As much as it could have been anyone's. I don't know.
I think he worked on the Cars movies and Brave. Right. I know in the art books for him, there's some picture. He did this wonderful picture for Cars that shows what the cars are inside. And it's like an anatomy picture where, it's half the car and then you see the insides of it. And the joke is, inside of every car, there's a caveman driving it.
Great. That's awesome.
Oh, and he voices a character in Brave too. He voices a crow.
Yeah, that can't be the most recent thing he did though, right? Because Brave was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I feel like if you're at Pixar, he would have been on more. Those are the only ones I know he's been on, though.
Yeah, Brave was the one that seemed like he had the most creative involvement.
Kind of. It's mostly just because the original director left a project, and so he kind of stepped in, and he co-directed with someone else, so they stepped in after she left. It was a troubled production.
Should have been a picture of Sam and Max like on the wall, like Monkey Island did, for that same reason.
That's true. Max is also in Day of the Tentacle, which I love a great deal.
Yeah, and Steve Purcell. Dustin, you still got to play Loom.
That's true. I was watching a Monkey Island documentary this morning, and they talked about both Steve Purcell and Loom on there.
Yeah, because it was co-developed. The first Monkey Island was co-developed with Loom at the same time. Mm-hmm. And if you play Loom, you got to make sure you're playing the EGA version, not the VGA version.
Ooh, why is that?
Well, so old computers, I don't know how familiar you are with the graphics terms, but just for listeners out there potentially, old computers had 3 kinds of graphical output potential. They had CGA graphics, which are 4 colors. You got white, black, pink, and like cyan. Mm-hmm. And that's like some of the earliest computers. You'll see CGA graphics. All of the color information is 4-bit or 2-bit. It's 2-bit.
Wow.
Because it's like the cyan is on, the magenta's on, or they're both on and that's white, and they're both off and that's black. So that's 2-bit. So that's CGA. That sucks to look at. Never played that. But existing just in a more high end of computer, but at the same time, was EGA graphics, which stands for Computer Graphics A. I don't know what the A stands for. So CGA is Computer Graphics, EGA is Electronic Graphics.
Okay.
A. And that's 16 colors. That's what the original Monkey Island and the original Loom were designed in. So like that's what the original version of that game is. And if you see a version of like the original Monkey Island, and it looks pixelated, and then when you go into a dialogue, sometimes it shows you like a really well detailed pixelated, like realistic looking face. Mm-hmm. That means you're not playing the original version, because that's the highest of the 3. That's VGA, which stands for Video Graphics A.
Wow, video graphics.
Yeah.
It's technology, huh?
Yeah, so CGA is 4 colors. EGA is 16. And then VGA is like 256 colors.
Do you know which one is on Steam? And follow-up question, is it on Steam?
You mean Loom or Monkey
Yeah,
Island?
Loom.
Let me find out right now.
I think it is, but I don't remember.
I have no problem derailing the conversation of this podcast to talk about Loom.
So tell me about Loom.
It's the wrong one. The graphics are too good.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, unless it like offers other versions of it. I'll tell you this much, Dustin. I know how to. I think you can get maybe the original version on GOG. Maybe I'll look that
I have
up.
a GOG account.
I'll look into GOG or Loom on GOG. See what they got.
You folks listening to this can't see it right now, but Mitch is wearing an "Ask Me About Loom" button.
No, it's the wrong one too. But it might.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, it's VGA graphics. So what you really want is to find a version of Loom that specifically is EGA graphics. Loom is much more important to do this for than Monkey Island. I think Monkey Island actually looks better in the updated graphics, but it's still not the original version of the game. So if that matters to you, then Loom, I would say it's not the original version of the game, and it does like the gameplay. I think is affected by the graphics because some of the drawings are less purposeful.
That's too bad.
It's how it is. But I really like Loom. Why did we start talking about Loom?
I don't remember.
Oh, Steve Purcell worked on Loom, and he was the character animator. And there's this one scene in Loom where a guy explodes. Sorry for Loom spoilers, because this really is a very fun part of the game to watch. But the animation for this guy exploding in EGA graphics with only 16 colors and only like a few areas of parallax they can use. It's immaculate. Best guy explosion animation I've ever seen. Steve Purcell is a genius for being able to do it.
Wow. High praise.
Yeah. No, I'll YouTube it, or I'll find it on YouTube after the episode and send it to you, and you'll see what I mean. It's a good guy explosion.
I guess I'll keep an eye out for that specific version of Loom to play.
Yeah, I don't know how, I mean, I know it's around, but I don't know how to pay for it, I guess.
Yeah.
The age-old video game morality question.
We struggle with it every day.
Beyond the Alley of the Dolls, however, was released on July 20th, 2010.
15 minutes in.
It was directed by Dennis Lennart and written and designed by the same team as, I think last week, Mike Stemmel and Penny.
Oh. Can I just say this is a great name for an episode? It's very attention grabby.
Beyond the Alley of the Dolls. I will say that it's very tonally good. It means next to nothing.
Well, I don't know about that. You go into the alley, and there is the doll Charlie Hotep.
Multiple dolls. I mean, yeah, you're right.
I guess you could consider the clones dolls, maybe.
I think that's
if you really want to stretch it.
That's like the implication. Charlie Hotep is a doll, and then these clones are sort of like dolls. Mm-hmm. And then like Charlie Hotep uses you as a doll, so I guess there's that. But mostly, it is a very effortless parody of the movie The Valley of the Dolls. Because alleys are like valleys. Have you ever seen that movie? They have
some of the same letters. No, I have not, but I've heard of it.
I haven't either. I know that it's a 1960s movie, a horror movie made by like,
filmmakers.
Sharon Tate's in it. I know that about it because I'm reading the novelization of Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is about Sharon Tate. And they talk a little bit about how she was in the Valley of the Dolls, and it was, I think, directed by Roman Polanski.
Oh, in that novelization, do they still have like a section with colored photos?
The cover.
Oh, because I remember in elementary school when we read novelizations of movies, they had like colorful little pictures in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, so...
But I take it this isn't a junior novelization.
No. No, this is it's a novelization of a Tarantino movie. Written by Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did his own novelization because he said in an interview at some point, I remember him saying, like, no one does book novelizations of movies anymore, and it's for good reason. Why would you make something that is hard to make based on a movie that, like, people already want to see the movie more? It's hard to get them to read a book. Why would you do this? So the market sort of fizzled out on it. But he just liked the idea so much, and he couldn't get anyone to write it. So he was like, "Well, I'm gonna do it."
Kind of a passion project.
Kind of a passion project. It was also, I think, how he spent the quarantine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, writing
I guess that is one way to do it.
Yeah, like, it's better than what I did, I guess.
Have you ever seen those fake novelizations for Austin Powers?
No.
I could have sworn our good friend Jeff had brought them up before. So
maybe. I could have forgotten.
Someone brought up. Someone made fake novelizations of the Austin Powers movies, just like a couple pages, and they're the funniest things in the world to me. Do you mind if I read one? I know we're talking.
Sure, go. This is what we're doing today, I guess.
Yeah, it's fine. Look, we'll get to the episode. The episode's great, but Austin Powers novelization. I'll read the first one. It kills me every time. All right, open up Imager.
Imager, wow.
Should
it not be Imgur?
Probably.
I think you're right. I think you're correct. I'm just saying Imgur sounds like more of a thing to me, but
it sounds a little more presentable to mom and dad.
Yeah. Mom, I was on Imgur today, and I saw the loveliest butt.
And she was like, "What did you say?"
And I said, the loveliest butt. You need to be able to...
We call it Imager in this household.
Oh, that's the part you were hung up on? Sorry,
But, okay, here's the first page. So the tweet says, still enthralled by the novelizations of the Austin Powers movies. And then the image is, it says, I've gone the wrong shagging way, Austin thought to himself, groovily. Austin stopped the cart and attempted to turn around. However, Dr. Evil's dastardly corridor walls were too close together to make a U-turn. Austin had to think fast. He turned a little one way, then reversed a little, then turned, then reversed, on and on for minutes, until the cart he was driving was perfectly wedged perpendicularly between the unsexy walls. Yeah, baby, said nobody, since this was not good.
That's great.
There's a few. There's like four more, but I'm only gonna read that one because we have a Sam and Max to get to. But boy, it puts a smile on my little face every time.
We've done this before for episodes we don't care about, but I care. I like this episode.
Yeah, I like this episode a lot.
I'm so drawn to not talk about it, but
well, let's get to it. So we start out with our ragtag group. Well, we start out seeing Girl Stinky throwing plates at Grandpa Stinky. She's pissed off at him because he fired Sal. He fired our good friend Sal.
Mm-hmm.
Then Sam and Max come running in because they're being chased by the Simulacra.
Which are clones of Sam. We need to introduce that idea.
Also, before I go on, have you seen the artwork for the Sam clones, like the concept art for them, or promo art, not concept art? In the game, they look very I don't want to say creepy, but they are a little unsettling. But the artwork for them makes them look goofy as all shit. Look at this.
Well, in the game, they're just Sam without any clothes. Yeah, the dopey expression in the promo art is...
It makes them feel a lot more goofy. But in the game, I'd argue they're They are just Sam, but they're a little. They kind of put you on edge.
I mean, I think they put you on edge just because it's the wrong emotion for the context a lot of the time in their face.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of their facial expressions are things that real Sam hasn't done. I don't think they've made like a bunch of new expressions for them and stuff, new animations. You're right. Goofy, real like brain dead Sam clones would maybe be scarier. But to follow up, the Stinkies tried to have an argument, but it's co-opted very quickly by the crowd of Sams that want to chase down Sam, Max, and Skoonkape. So the 5 of them go back inside Stinky's diner and try to like barricade the walls and shoot through the holes. Shaun of the Dead style, The Walking Dead style, Night of the Raving Dead style, Night of the Living Dead style.
Yeah, this episode immediately gave me Walking Dead flashbacks. This came before Telltale's Walking Dead, but there's a part in episode 1 of season 1 that's basically this. You're cooped up in a convenience store with this gang of characters. It's basically the exact same thing, except no one's making funny jokes.
It's interesting that this kind of situation can feel like familiar, like, oh, well, yeah, when the zombies come, this is what you do, despite the fact that in real life, none of us have ever done this. There's like no purpose to do this. So
speak for yourself.
Well, I will speak for myself, and I'll say that I've never been attacked by a horde of zombies. And I assume that most of our listeners, if not all, have also not been attacked by a horde of zombies. So, like, it's something that is highly, if not entirely, theoretical. This hypothetical version of us that barricades the doors and shoots through the holes in the wood. But every movie is like, well, of course this is what you do, because haven't you done this before? It feels almost like they're trying to pull from reality in a way that is impossible because we haven't done this before.
Obviously, you board up the restaurant you go into and block the door with a single table.
Yeah, and then someone sits at a table and they don't help every time. In every version of the thing. And then, like, someone's behind the bar for some reason, even though that's not where things are. Yeah, and then, like...
Both Max and Grandpa Stinky are having a great time in here, though.
Yeah, Max is having a great time shooting all the Sams. It seems like this is something Max always wanted to do. And ditto for Grandpa Stinky, who also seems to want to have killed Max or Sam long ago. And Girl Stinky is just sort of texting. She's not phased, and this is probably how she would have spent her time anyway. Really, you controlling the real Sam are the only person who cares that you need to get out of this situation. Which is a fun way to spin the situation of everyone being stressed and upset and trying to get out. In Sam and Max, is like, well, we've dealt with worse, maybe.
Yeah, even Sam isn't, like, that bothered. Like, you're just kind of walking around calmly the whole time. He wants to figure this out, but he doesn't seem, like, particularly stressed.
Yeah, because Sam will just go around. He spends most of the time in my playthrough eating peanut butter and fudge.
I love that animation of Sam just constantly licking the top of his mouth.
Yeah.
This was the puzzle I remembered. Like, from the get-go, I was like, I remember I gotta get the ball of peanut butter.
Yeah. I did not remember most of this episode.
I think this is the episode I actually remembered the most of. Like, all of this was very familiar.
We're always different like that. We're always little antonyms.
Yeah, sometimes we're one thing and the other's the other. But, like, I can so clearly remember where I was playing the finale of this episode.
Where were you?
The first time. I was at my friend's house. I was just, we were just hanging out. I think I, like, stayed the night because they lived far away from where I lived, so I would just stay the night over there, and then they would drive me back. And so I just had my laptop on me, and I was like, okay, look, we had hangout time, now it's Sam and Max time.
I'm getting to a point
That
in
makes
my
me
life
sound
where
sorry.
miss that so much.
Yeah, it just hanging out with friends. I mean, you can still do it, but it's a little less
Yeah.
special. It doesn't feel like a big event because you can just go out and do it whenever.
Yeah.
But I want to defend myself because that made me sound like a really bad friend. Let me just say my friend was playing video games first. I brought out my video game because they were playing a different one.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't just like,
my
look,
assumption when
I
you
know
said that
brought
was
me
just
over.
that you were sort of like not playing together because it's a single player game, but single player
Yeah.
games are secretly the best multiplayer games.
Yeah,
I
because
think.
like one person can watch and then you can trade off whenever the other wants to play. I do that all the time with friends, like just playing games or like the Switch Online games.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of those games are single player, but you can switch control at any time. It turns every single game into a co-op game, and that's awesome.
But even if you don't, I remember I watched my friend John growing up. He played through Shadow the Hedgehog with me just watching. That was a great experience.
Because you didn't have to play it?
Yeah, because he loved it. And despite the fact that he loved it, I think he shouldn't have. But also, I didn't have that context yet of like, well, if I played this, how would I feel? So I was just going based off like his reactions of like, I'm having a wonderful time. So I thought like I'm also having a wonderful time because I'm watching the story, which is really all I want out of a Shadow the Hedgehog game.
Yeah,
And
exactly. It worked. You both got
Yeah.
what you wanted out of it.
yeah,
Yeah, that
man.
wasn't this, but but I so clearly remember doing this finale and being like, "Whoa, this is crazy."
Yeah, it's a big it's a big thing where. Well, okay, we'll get to it. But
Yeah.
getting out of this restaurant, this diner, is Act 1. You can do it by finding one of Girl Stinky's backup secret tunnels under the jukebox by doing some stuff. And then once you go in there, there's tons of stuff down there. There's a tunnel to Mama Bosco's house. There's a tunnel to the Museum of Natural History. There's and
There's
then
a ton of cloning chambers.
yeah, the cloning chambers are the biggest thing in like the center of the tunnels. All the tunnels were dug by Harry Moleman, and they're used by Girl Stinky, to like covert with her boyfriend, who in this episode is revealed to be Sal, even though I thought it was pretty obvious last episode that it wasn't Skunk Ape, that it was Sal, because they were trying to sell it like it's maybe Skunk Ape, but no.
Yeah, in the first episode, even she was like, "Oh, I hate this guy, but
Yeah.
I guess I'll sit over here to get away from Sam and Max."
Yeah, he's got that white purple fur that we all love in a potential mate. So
What a catch!
yeah, but no, it's Sal, the giant cockroachman.
Cockroachman.
Yeah,
Oh, that's my favorite thing you've ever said.
I try to do one of those per episode. So you go around, try to solve some mysteries and stuff. What you try to do eventually is turn off the machine. You do this by having Mama Bosco put her hand on a thing, and then you just turn off the cloning devices, and like that's what you're working toward. But it's a hard thing to do. Because it requires getting rid of some spirit tentacles from the dark dimension that you need to go through multiple different dimensions in order to find a decathylator or something that lets you kill things from the dark dimension.
The Chthonic Destroyer.
Chthonic Destroyer. Oh yeah, and at first Mama Bosco's nowhere to be seen, so you need to hold a seance for her to come back into the world of the living, but she's still just a ghost. So then you need to clone a body for her based on a combination of her DNA and Bosco's, which is a whole thing. And then meanwhile, you need to deal with the fact that Girl Stinky is just being like the most uncooperative someone could possibly be. And through all of that, that eventually leads you outside to an alley of the dolls, I suppose.
Whoa, there's dolls out in this alley. There's dolls in them thar alleys.
Where you find the you find where the master of the clones is, and you're about to discover who it is. But then, in order to get into this building where you'd find out where the master is and who he is, you need to use your psychic toys. You need to use your Charlie Hotep ventriloquism voice throwing. And in doing so, Charlie just says, "No, actually, I have my own will all of a sudden. I'm going to be really freaky and weird." And then you do that, and that freaked me out the first time. I remember that being pretty scary.
It's a very unsettling design for Charlie Hotep. I feel like even more so than your usual evil crazy dummy.
Well, it's gross.
Your textbook dummy.
It's a weird thing, but then also just everything for the last 4 episodes has been preparing you to use these psychic toys, and then when you click on Charlie Hotep to use it in this scene, you like start to see the animation that would be about using it, but then Charlie just goes, "No."
Sorry.
Sorry. And it's scary, it's freaky.
Yeah.
Chucky vibes.
Yeah, I feel like
from Rugrats.
Yeah, he turns to you and he says, "I don't know about this, Tommy.
I need a mob
that'll last forever." Mitch, we both knew that song. I'm so happy.
If you ever are on a call with our mutual friend Jeff Dustin, you should definitely sing that song to him and just see what his reaction is. He's got feelings about that song.
Oh boy, now I need to know.
Yeah. So that's Act 2, and that's...
Well,
in every other
I
Sam
like
and Max game, that would be 2 acts.
I feel like we kind of skipped a little part.
Okay.
So, I hope I didn't black out and miss it entirely, and you did bring it up, but did we bring up that we go to the museum and find out a little something?
I didn't. I brought up that the museum is there through the tunnels, but I didn't. You're right. So you do go to the museum, and you break your way into Paperweight's office, where you find out that Paperweight has been Professor Quill from Sorcerer's Stone with Yog-Sothoth. Does that sentence... Do people know what I mean by that?
I get it.
Yog-Sothoth is growing out of him the way Voldemort was growing out of Professor Quill.
Now people get it.
Now you must get it. I assume everyone's seen Harry Potter. It would be very strange to me if you could make it to like adulthood in 2021 without ever seeing Harry Potter.
Yeah, like I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen the first one. I feel like most people have at least seen the first one.
Yeah, like if you fall off before the end, that's understandable. It is 8 movies. That's not a small amount of movies.
Yeah.
Or books. But come on, let's be real, movies. So you're right. That would be strange to me if someone.
It would be even stranger to me if someone had a tentacled little man coming out of their chest.
Right. If they both had that and haven't seen or read Sorcerer's Stone or Philosopher's Stone, that would be the most strange.
I would leave. I would not talk with them. I would say those are 2 red flags.
I would also not talk to them, but if I can be honest, it's mostly about the squid guy growing out of his chest and not the Harry Potter thing.
Yeah, it just kind of builds up.
Yeah, the squid guy is definitely the straw that broke the camel's back in that situation.
But I will say, if it were Yog-Sothoth / Dr. Norrington, as he likes to be called here, I don't know. I wouldn't be that opposed to it. I like Dr. Norrington.
Yeah, so you find out that the Dr. Norrington that Paperweight's been talking to for the last couple episodes is Yog-Sothoth, And that's like a name Yog-Sothoth chose for himself to be referred to by in English, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But
He said it's because Yog-Sothoth in your human tongue sounds like their word for pooping.
right. I mean that
So he's just like, ew, don't say that. Just call me like Dr. Norrington or something.
Yeah, like if my name was Dick Haver, but everyone called me Dick Haver, I would be upset about that because it's way more funny if it's Haver.
No, come on, you guys. My name's Dick Haver.
Come on, that's the joke.
You guys.
My parents didn't name me this for you to not joke about it. So yeah, he's Dr. Norrington, and it turns out that whoever is doing all of this stuff that's been happening for the last couple of episodes and orchestrating all the strings behind the stuff that's going on is not trying to summon Yog-Sothoth, because Yog-Sothoth is summoned. That happened.
Yeah,
in
he's
episode
been here.
2. We saw that happen in Paperweight's chest. Who they're trying to summon is Junior, Yog-Sothoth's grandson from the Dark Dimension, who's this impossibly giant, evil, corpulent monster who is just all about destruction and consumption, but also is a baby within Dark Dimension years.
Yeah.
So that's what the toys of power are all about. They're babies' toys for an elder
his
god.
Toys.
Which makes sense, because if you're an adult, you can have toys, but you don't keep them in a box. You keep them in a purse.
That's so true.
Yeah, so Junior is really the objective of it all. So whoever's doing all this stuff is trying to get Junior out. And it turns out that Charlie Hotep, at least according to his own description later on in the episode, was Junior's favorite toy.
We soon find out that might not be the case.
I can't really tell. So let's actually just jump to that.
Okay.
Third act, after you sort of get bamboozled by Charlie Hotep, is Charlie playing a song on the piano at the top of the Statue of Liberty that controls all of the Sam clones and gets them to sacrifice themselves to Junior, because Junior needs like 1,000 blood sacrifices in order to be alive in the material plane. And the easiest way to do that is just to clone 1,000 things.
It is kind of neat that these clones kind of have two purposes. One is to get the toys, and then the other is to sacrifice themselves. So it's I don't know, I guess just good writing that they have more than one purpose.
Yeah, it seems honestly that despite the fact that the toys are all they think about, and most of the episode is about them getting the toys, the fact that they're getting the toys is just something they're doing on the side, and their main thing.
Yeah, this seems like the main purpose.
Yeah, their main purpose is killing themselves to bring up about Junior.
I don't like that thinking about it. I don't like a bunch of Sams just killing themselves.
Well, that's what it is, buddy. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know what to tell you, but guess what? That's the way it is.
Sometimes
life isn't all sunshine and rainbows.
I was about to say exactly that. Yeah, so that's the third act. And the way you can sort of beat him there, you have to sort of think outside the box, because Max is stuck at the bottom of the Eiffel Tower, and there's not much that he can do to like move around. Sam is being puppeteered by Charlie Hotep, and he can't really move on his own accord. Charlie lets Sam speak, and from that he can sort of instigate some stuff. What you need to do is talk to Yog-Sothoth and get Yog-Sothoth to tell Charlie Hotep that Junior didn't even like Charlie very much.
Yeah, he thought he was Creepy Charlie.
Yeah,
would call him.
Yeah, a very Donald Trump-esque nickname.
Do you think we would have been better off with Charlie Hotep in office?
Than Joe Biden?
No, than Donald Trump.
Probably. Not because he wanted to summon an elder god to destroy
I guess
reality.
that's true. I guess that's true, but I like that you didn't answer right away.
I mean, I don't like Donald Trump, but
Between the two, lesser of two evils.
I mean, like, there's a time for comedic exaggeration, but Charlie Hotep did literally try to destroy the material plane as we know
That's true.
So it's hard to compare.
I feel like that would not be a very good president now that I think about it.
Yeah. And a lot of the stuff I don't like about Trump, probably also true about Charlie Hotep. He gives off that vibe for sure.
Yeah, he probably says some not great things.
Yeah, he probably... Yeah, I don't even want to get into it. How much this guy likes being peed on. Whatever.
That does come up 3 or 4 times.
It's for that reason that I'm not actually sure if that thing about Junior not liking Charlie is real. Because it seems like something Yog-Sothoth just said in order to get Charlie annoyed.
The impression I get is that it is real, and that's why he gets annoyed. Charlie knows it's true.
I could see that too. I guess I'm just not sure.
Yeah, we never find out the exact truth. But that's just the impression that I got. That's the impression that I get.
But Charlie is very much a Woody from Toy Story 1 situation where, like, he loves his player, I guess you could say. He loves his Junior, and he would do anything to be played with again. He wants to be an active toy instead of hanging around in the toy box waiting for a child to play with him.
That's funny you mention that, since in the original version of Toy Story 1, Woody was a ventriloquist dummy.
Yeah, and he was much meaner too, right? Like he was an
asshole.
He was like the bad guy, right?
Yeah. Well, I feel like it would have played out basically the same. You know, Woody would have come around, he would have learned his lesson, but he was much, much more of an asshole than in the final version.
I really like how Toy Story 1 turned out, and I think that it still would have been better if they did that.
Wow. I don't know if I agree. You've seen the clip of it, right?
Yeah, I think he should have been more of an asshole, because like what you really want is for that scene when they're under the truck outside Pizza Palace or Pizza Planet. Pizza Palace is not the same. When they're outside Pizza Planet under the truck, and Woody is Tom Hanks and says, "You are a toy!" And Buzz...
He is Tom Hanks.
Yeah, he's Tom Hanks when he says that. And Buzz has like a really weird, like, coming to Jesus moment where he's like, what if I is toy? And he has to like really reckon with it, and it's about being brought down to earth in a very disrespectful way, like the truth, but how do you make the truth feel wrong? And it is almost an allegory for religion, and how that you can get someone to come around to believing in a more realistic state of mind, but if you do it in a way that disrespects them, you kind of just break them, and you remove their toy-like soul. And that's what Toy Story 1 is about, to me. So I don't know. I think it would have been fun if Woody was just a little bit more of an asshole sometimes. That's all I have to say. Same deal with Epic Mickey, though, with Toy Story 1.
I love Epic Mickey.
Do you?
I could do a podcast about I think Epic Mickey, despite its problems gameplay-wise, I think it's the most amazing idea for a story. I think they should have done a movie of Epic Mickey. Because, like, the game, gameplay-wise, it has its problems. I can overlook them, but I know a lot of people couldn't. But I think if you take the story, the part that's, like, really good, you could turn it into a movie and it would be amazing. Maybe. I mean, it's possible it couldn't have, but I would have gone to see it.
I think there's two major problems with Epic Mickey that just are too big for me to ignore, even though I really like it a lot. At least the first one. The first is that they had this idea that Mickey's corruptible. So you can do things that are sort of tend toward good and make Mickey look more cartoony and more angelic and like more of a force of good. But you can also do things that go the other direction. And originally they were going to make him look more evil and sort of deranged. And I think that if they were courageous, they would have kept that in the game. But because
I get why they didn't, though. It's, it's Disney's corporate mascot. The fact that they were able to go as far as they did is a lot on its own.
They really wanted to, and Disney told them they couldn't. And that's one reason I think Epic Mickey is not as good as it could be. The other is that the name of the video game is Epic Mickey, and that's bad. That's a bad name for something.
It's Mickey, but he's so epic.
Yeah, that was 2010 when like corporations were realizing epic might be the coolest word that we can co-opt from the internet right now.
It's pretty epic, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty epic, you guys. It's because corporations can't really do YOLO with a straight face. They can't
YOLO, guys.
They can't take that from the children. Although all the
can't take that from the children.
All the YOLO children are now adults, but the epic thing, corporations were like, actually, that's ours now. we're going to use that. And 2010 was the peak. And I'm sorry, Epic Mickey, you were a casualty to corporations trying to look cool saying epic, and that's a bummer.
You want to know what my problem is with Epic Mickey? Is they bill it as this is a world full of like forgotten Disney characters and ideas and concepts, but most of what you see is like, oh, this is Shmee from Peter Pan, but his colors are a little different. I feel like the idea for this game is like absolutely genius, and they just kind of fell short in some areas, but I still like it overall. I never played 2 because I heard it was really not good. Like, they didn't fix any of the problems of the first one and added more problems on top of that, so I was really bummed out about that and never played it. And then it fizzled out, and that sucks. I think it should have been a series that kept going, but them's the breaks.
Yeah, Epic Mickey almost feels like a direct reaction to Kingdom Hearts being cool, but Kingdom Hearts also having this set of flaws that are like, it gets up his own ass so easily, and it abandons both the Final Fantasy and Disney aspects of it pretty quickly in order to tell its own story, which is cool, but also I think you sometimes just want that story that it would be. And Epic Mickey seems like that, like what that would have been if it just kept with the Disney stuff and had that kind of Kingdom Hearts-esque story, but did it with the Disney stuff. So it is a bummer that it didn't work out. I think Epic Mickey deserves another look.
I agree. Like I said, the first game, I get it. It's not flawless. It's got some big issues, but man, what's there? I just love it.
I think I'm gonna replay Epic Mickey.
I think I might too. It's been a while.
Yeah, I got it on Wii, so I'll just pop it in the old Wii U and I'll play it.
Yeah, I think I'll join you. Boy, now I'm looking forward to it.
You beat Charlie Hotep.
Speaking of playing things,
you get Charlie Hotep to you trick him into destroying the Devil's Toy Box, and once he does that, he gets sucked into it, and all the Toys of Power get sucked into it and stuff.
Yeah, did you notice? This is something I did not realize until this playthrough. I guess just because I only played it the once before. I can't believe this is only my second time playing this season. It's so good. But did you notice that all of the songs, all of the lullabies for Junior that you play on the piano are based on real nursery rhymes / lullabies?
Yeah, and if you get Sam to sing it by using the playing cards of whatever reading minds, he sings it in the actual way that the nursery rhyme goes.
I never knew that before. And then I was listening to, when I did that on Sam, he started singing Eternal Darkness to the tune of You Are My Sunshine. I was like, wait a minute. And then I did it for all of them, and I was like, whoa, that's great. I never noticed that before.
Yeah, and Jared Emerson Johnson's such a little sneaky deek about it. He hides all of the leitmotifs of the nursery rhymes really well.
Yeah. Well, because the Sam clones are chanting it rather than singing it, so it kind of throws you. And the music in the background is not the song, so the only way you really know it is by if you listen to Sam. It's great. It's awesome.
Yeah, and so after that, Charlie Hotep is not a problem anymore. Junior's not even really a problem anymore. They were about to... He was like in the middle of being summoned, but then Max, with all of his residual psychic energy, sort of lands on where Junior was being summoned and absorbs Junior.
Which is not great.
It's not a good thing for Sam to see happen, and it's not a good thing for Max to do.
Yeah, but Max is into it.
Max turns into a half Max, half giant kaiju-esque dark dimension Cthulhu man, and that's how we leave the episode
man.
With Cthulhu-Max about to destroy New York City.
Yeah, boy, what a I know I say this for every episode, but boy, do they know how to trail into the next one to really hype it up.
I think that this episode is my favorite episode of Sam and Max so far.
Wow, high praise. I think it's my second favorite.
I think that so much of what all of the different threads in a really good TV show, what the A plot and then like the side characters are usually doing a B plot and a sitcom-esque thing, right? What those plots are doing is addressing the same themes and ideas, but not using the same plot materials, using different elements of the story. And this, I think, does this the best that I've clocked so far in Sam and Max. It's all about someone that you care for exceeding you.
Yeah. If you listen to if you read Sam's mind in the beginning of the episode, he even says like Max is getting more and more powerful. Pretty soon he won't even need a partner.
Yeah, I have that written down. He says that, and then at some point Sam sees one of the Sam clones, which are either called Samulacra or Doppelgangers, depending on your preference. He sees one of the Doppelgangers hug like a white rabbit toy, and then Sam hugs Max in the same way.
This episode, not just this episode, but this season really does a good job of bringing a franchise like Sam and Max into an area where it can tell a more dramatic story very well.
Yeah. This episode's about giving up something that is special to you. Like, in the very literal sense of it, it's Charlie Hotep, who seemed to have some sort of parental bond almost with Junior. And I think that's the same in Toy Story, where Woody is Andy's toy, but like Andy to Woody is almost like a son. Woody feels that he raised Andy, whether or not that's true at all, because Andy never heard from Woody and would not have said that himself, because that would be a crazy thing to say.
Woody's my dad.
My toy is my dad, and my cowboy is my life.
I call him dad in front of my friends.
My conscience is clear, and my cowboy is here.
Wow.
And so that's like the literal interpretation of that. But also, over this whole series, Sam has been slowly grappling with the idea that Max is becoming something that doesn't need a Sam anymore. And that was always the whole point of their dynamic. The entire Sam and Max series, narratively between the two characters, and also meta-narratively between the creators and the audience, has been dependent on the hinge that Max is the very powerful, unhinged force of chaotic justice that needs to be done in order for the story to be cool. And Sam is the guiding force that will point that laser into a pinpoint and actually make it pop the balloon, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I know, all right.
So, with Max becoming more and more powerful, he's absorbing all of these psychic toys. On a mechanical level, that really differentiates the characters all of a sudden. Because before, they were balanced out by Sam is the one that you control and carries the inventory, but Max is the one with the personality and that just sort of does things sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So Max is almost, literally so in Hit the Road, the LucasArts one, he's almost an inventory item of Sam's most of the time. And that dynamic is what kept them together. So in this third season of the Telltale games, they're sort of playing around with this idea of like, yeah, you still are Sam, and you still are the person with the inventory items, and you're the person that you control, Sam. But what if Max is like way less dependent? What if Max has items of his own that these psychic toys comprise? What if Max doesn't actually need to be focused anymore? He's got all these powers that he is a threat unto himself and needs to be checked in some sort of way. But also, does he need to be checked? He could probably take or leave Sam at this point. Max doesn't seem to notice that this growth within himself is happening, but the people that are growing in our lives rarely do. Am I right, Dustin?
You're so right, Mitch. I think about that every time we do this podcast.
Wait, about me?
I think, man, someday he won't need me to do this podcast. Someday Mitch will be talking about CSI all by himself. Maybe, hopefully.
Dustin, I'll promise you right now, I will never talk about CSI all by myself.
Ah, shit.
Sorry, bud. I know you thought that you were going to trick me into doing that just now. You're going to have to be there for that episode.
I was trying to talk you into thinking you didn't need me anymore.
That episode, by the way, is either 4 episodes or 20 episodes, depending on how we split it. Can you believe that of the 140 Telltale games, 20 of them are CSI games? And
that's a big chunk.
And something around the mark of 23 to 25-ish, I'd have to check, are Walking Dead games.
That one makes a little more sense, just because it was so huge. Well,
only
it was
16
huge for a little bit.
Only 16 Sam and Max games.
Yeah, I still think of Sam and Max as Telltale. Like, this is the series I think of for Telltale, not Walking Dead. Even though Walking Dead is, like, obviously, like, inarguably their biggest series they had.
Only 3 more Sam and Max episodes than there are Minecraft episodes.
That's so crazy. So I really wish they did another Monkey Island.
Yeah, I would like now. I want one now.
Yeah.
So I was talking before about the way that in a good episode of a TV show, and by the way, we started this whole podcast comparing Telltale's offerings to a TV show. We sort of stopped talking about that a little bit, but it's coming back. Like a good episode of a TV show, all of the plots are distinct from each other, but are talking kind of about the same idea. And in this episode, I think it becomes very evident why Bosco and Sybil aren't here because of that.
Ooh, go on. Explain to me this.
So if it's about someone exceeding you and not needing you anymore, that's what Grandpa Stinky and Girl Stinky have. Whether it's Girl Stinky not needing Grandpa Stinky to co-opt the diner from her, or Grandpa Stinky not needing a newer generation of Stinky to co-opt the diner from him. It kind of goes both ways in that case. You see that theme emerge again in those two in a lesser way. You also see it with Mama Bosco and Bosco. Despite the fact that Bosco doesn't show up, Mama Bosco has been looking for the person that like wronged her for so long, and it turned out to be Bosco, and she ruined Bosco's life a little bit by accident. Remember that?
Yeah, boy, do I remember.
um, Bosco no longer has the kind of severe mental illness of anxiety that began because of Mama Bosco's interfering in his life. He no longer has that. So he's exploded into independence recently by going to Vegas and just sort of trashing himself.
With his good friend Bluster
With his
Blaster.
good friend Bluster Blaster. We'll get into that. But he's now become more independent as well. And it caused Mama Bosco to have to do this whole other thing in life that, like, weirdly doesn't involve him. So I think that's why Sybil and Bosco really aren't major players through this season, because, well, Sybil doesn't really have anything to say about that, theme. And Bosco is the part of the theme that shows what happens when that thing that you're taking care of does become independent and go away. So it all sort of comes together kind of nicely in that way. If I worked on it harder, I could maybe BS some way that Bluster Blaster is also attached to that theme, but it's not coming to mind immediately. So
yeah, I mean, he did leave the cops. Well, they let him go, didn't they?
yeah, they fired him. I don't think it's the same. But that's the idea that's drawing all of these characters together, this idea of letting your child grow up. And this maybe is, in my opinion, the greatest strike against the fan favorite pet theory that Sam and Max are gay lovers. And I hate to say this because I do like that theory. I think this is the biggest strike against it, because it portrays Sam as a much more paternal figure than romantic figure in Max's life.
I see that. Yeah, I get that.
It means he's keeping them together, and there's some romantic relationships out there that are like that, where there's someone who's just a very chaotic person in life, and their partner sort of keeps them grounded. But I think this goes beyond that. This goes into, like, it's time for Max to exceed Sam. And if that's the case, we're not talking about a romantic partnership, because that's not what happens in those. That's what happens in parental ones.
Right.
So that's just some stuff I was thinking about.
This season's got a lot to say.
At least I do. Maybe I'm overreading all of it. Who knows?
That's what's cool about it. If it makes you think about stuff like this.
Yeah. An inverse of this is when Charlie Hotep, like he's the villain because he tries to stop this natural process of your kid growing up. And he tries to artificially enact control over those that have mental independence, like Sam. And at some point, Sam is able to ask Charlie Hotep, "Why me? Why am I the one that you targeted to make clones out of? And why am I the one that you're controlling right now? Like, why did you do this to me?" And Charlie Hotep says, "Because anyone else has that part of their brain that, like, rebels against direct authoritative control. And then he says this word for word: it's almost as if you were born to be ordered around, Sam."
Ooh.
That feels herdy to me.
Herdy.
Yeah, that almost hurts a little bit to hear that. And that's...
Yeah, show Sam a little respect. Jeez.
Well, at first it hurts.
He's a dog that wears a tie.
At first it hurts because you think, oh, maybe that is true about Sam. But then it hurts because you realize it's not. Because it's not true about Sam. No one is. Sam has not followed the law in tons of instances. He's very independent, if you think about it. Charlie Hotep's just saying that because that's how he views people. That's how he views Junior. And that's how he views the idea of someone becoming independent out from under him as something that needs to be corrected, and something that can be corrected because people sometimes are born to be ordered around in his mind. Mm-hmm. So he's the foil to Mama Bosco in that way, because Mama Bosco is like the version of this theme where the caretaker accepts the person growing up out from under them, where Charlie Hotep is the person who does not accept it and needs to rebel against this thing that is happening in his life.
Yeah. Bosco did ask his mom for some money, though.
Well, yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah.
He had to be a male stripper to make money to pay off his debts, so he's like,
Yeah, but Mama Bosco's not going to give it to him.
Yeah, that's true.
She doesn't seem like particularly helpful in that way.
Yeah, in the letter he even says, "Hey, I think I'm gonna be here for a while."
That's what I had to say about this episode. Do you have anything else before we get into segments?
Well,
sorry, I know I took over a lot of that section just now.
No, that's fine. It was great. I enjoyed hearing it. Well, we do meet. This episode has a lot of great characters in it.
Yeah. I'm
sure we'll get into them when we get to our weekly guys.
Yeah.
But see, now I'm a little self-conscious. I feel like any notes I have to say aren't on that level. I have stuff like Sam clones, when playing Face of Darkness, are playing air guitar.
Yeah. That is good, though. It's important to note, because I didn't say that.
Yeah, it's great. Because for each of these songs, they're all doing like some sort of dance, but most of them are pretty, like, I don't want to say elegant, but they're a little more straightforward. And then this one just has them all playing air guitar.
Yeah.
It's great. Sal, it sounds like, is not in a great place by the end of this episode.
No, there's a little end of credit stinger about it. Do you want to describe that?
Yes, I will. So earlier in the episode, Girl Stinky and Sal are being hypnotized by the Master. At the time, you don't know who it is, but you eventually find out it's Charlie Hotep. And you have to get over to the control panel for the clones. And in doing this, Girl Stinky ends up knocking Sal off of the platform down into the depths below in this chamber, and you just hear him scream. So after the credits, Girl Stinky snaps out of her trance, and she's like, "Oh, geez, what's going on, Sal?" And she kind of calls out for Sal, and she sounds very worried. So we don't see what happens, but might not be super good times for our good friend Sal the Cockroachman. It
might be a bad time for Sal the Cockroachman.
Yeah, it's if it's not good, it's probably bad.
I've said that a lot in my life, and you know what? We need to embrace the gray for Sal the Cockroachman. Maybe it's a neutral thing that he fell down.
Yeah, it might be fine.
So, very strange choice for like a post-credit stinger, because all of the post-credit stingers are either like big jokes in Sam and Max, or they're hints at the lore or what happens in the next episode specifically. This is none of those things. It's just Girl Stinky kind of being sad.
Yeah, this is not a joke. This is kind of a serious thing.
Yeah, it's just something that they wanted to make sure the audience saw real quick. Hey, by the end, Girl Stinky's really sad. Bye.
Anyway, see you next time. Oh, one other thing I wanted to bring up. So earlier in this episode, when you go to Mama Bosco's before you bring her back to life, Harry Molman, our favorite guy, and Agent Superball are here. They're trying to perform a seance to bring her back.
Yeah.
And I have two notes about this.
Okay.
One, is it me or does it sound like Harry Molman is every now and then slipping into an accent he's never had before?
Dustin, I'm so glad you brought this up. Yes, I was not going to say anything about it because I have less of an ear for voice acting than you do for sure. And maybe I was, just hearing something that maybe was always there. But he seems to have a New Jersey patois a little bit from time to time.
Yeah, and it's not that it doesn't fit him. I think it would fit him, but just the fact that you're breaking that out in episode 4 of season 3?
Yeah, we've known Harry Moleman since season 1, episode 3.
Yeah, and he's just always kind of talked like this. He's just kind of had a normal voice. But now he's starting to sound kind of like this.
I would not describe him as having a normal voice, but I agree that it's been one thing for a very long time.
Yeah, and now it sounds like he's not fully committing to it. He's kind of testing the waters with it a little bit.
Yeah, he's tasting a little ham on that one. He's
kind of trying to branch out, seeing if it lands with people.
He's licking the honey baked, see what it tastes like.
You know what? Good for him for trying some new things.
Yeah. Yeah. We should all have different accents from here on out.
Yeah, just mix it up a little.
Hey, I'm Mitchell Wolf here. What do you want? You want a podcast? I can make you a podcast.
Mitch, I don't want to say that voice doesn't suit you because it really does, and I'll leave it at that. But my other note for this scene, also Harry related.
Uh-huh.
I think this is the first time I legit kind of feel a little bad for him, because so what you have to do here,
I don't.
You convince him that you are talking to the dead, and you're talking to his dead Uncle Morty.
Yeah.
But you have to figure out how to get him to believe this, and you do this by reading his mind, looking into his future, etc., etc. You got to find out what will get him to buy this. But when you get him to buy it, he believes you so hard and is so he genuinely appreciates you as a friend. He thanks Max from the bottom of his heart. He sounds like the happiest he's ever been in his life. And you lied to him.
Yes, but the reason he is so happy is because he gets to ask his dead uncle where he hid his stamp collection so he can have it.
That's true.
It's not like he missed his uncle.
Yeah, okay, never mind. You talked me out of it.
No, you gotta remember, this guy sucks.
Yeah, he's not good. But just just how happy he sounded, and just legit thanking Max, which is something he would never. Before this, he had an attitude. He was pissed. He was like, "Oh yeah, you cheated me out of all that money. Thanks, assholes." And he's had it with Sam and Max at this point, and he's just like, "Thank you, Max," and then he runs off happily. But you're right. I did forget that it was only because he wanted his stamp collection.
Yeah, it's just that. And I love that Superball just comes in just to say hey, by the way, I remember I'm in this. Just in case you forgot.
What a pair.
Maybe they should do a spin-off.
They should do a spin-off called Superball and Harry.
Bouncing around.
Bouncing around this big old world. I'm really loving the idea of Superball and Harry Moleman, who have nothing in common and no chemistry together, just on adventures. And you try to have conversations with them, and they just, neither of them like each other, and they're just quiet most of the time.
As a kid playing through Sam and Max, my favorite character was Superball. Easily my favorite character was
Why?
Superball.
Easily. Wow.
Didn't have to think very hard about it at the time. I remember
he blew the competition away.
He really did. I loved Superball.
That's so funny to me. Not once did it ever cross my mind that Superball would be my favorite character.
Or good at all.
I appreciate him. When he shows up, I'm not like, oh, Superball again. But,
something I
I'm
really
not,
liked
overjoyed.
about Superball was the way that he would always guard Sam and Max's closet from season 2 on. You can't get into your own closet, and Superball's like, yeah, there's stuff that you don't even know is going on in this closet. Which I don't remember what it is. What is it?
I don't remember. I don't think you go in the closet after that. Isn't it crazy that not once do you go into Sam and Max's office in season 3?
Yeah, that is strange. But wait, is there really do you not find out what he's guarding?
I don't think so. I don't remember.
Whoa. Okay, wait. So that happens I think that happens after.
It's in Chariot of the Dogs because you get the time card from him, right? When you scan him?
Yeah, but when you visit him in Chariot of the Dogs, that's not the time period from Chariot of the Dogs. That's the time period from What's New Beelzebub, the next episode.
Right.
So if we're to go by the pattern of something new from the previous case is added to the closet every episode, I guess it's something from Chariot of the Dogs is added to that closet. Is it just the time machine elevator?
Well, the time machine elevator is to the side.
Yeah, but
it's like,
do they have another one, which is the future of that time machine elevator, in that closet at the time?
Boy, I wish I knew.
Do they really never talk about that? Because that was like such a mystery to me as a kid growing up with that. Like, I was thinking like, oh man, there's something crazy in that closet.
There's something crazy in there. Mitch, I gotta tell you, I don't think it's ever once occurred to me that there was something in that closet after that. So I don't think they touch upon it ever.
What do you mean never? Why is he guarding it then?
I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah, I don't think it ever comes up after that, but you never know. Maybe in the future.
Do you think Dave Grossman is reachable via email and I could just ask?
Oh, I'm sure. I don't know if he'd answer, but I'm sure you could ask.
Yeah, I could even just ask someone else's email account. I could always ask.
You could ask me and I'd give you an answer.
Dustin, is it time to get into segments?
I think it's time to get into our segments.
Dustin, what's your potent pickup?
My potent pickup, this was a tough one because I feel like everything in this episode did stand out except for the pickups this time. Except for, the toys, which you get. But I decided not to go with the toys this time. I decided to go with Bosco's letter.
Okay.
And the reason why is because it ties into two characters that we have not seen in this season so far yet. And I was really excited to have them kind of tie into it.
Okay.
Bluster Blaster gives you this letter from Bosco, neither of which have been seen up until this point. Bosco is not even seen at this point. But we meet up with our good friend Bluster Blaster, and I was overjoyed. I was like, there he is, there's my friend. And then he gives you this letter from Bosco. It was just nice. I like that they brought in these two familiar characters into this bigger story, even if it wasn't like that big a role. Then, the letter brings back Mama Bosco, so it had a bigger purpose, but mostly it's just because it tied into these two characters. So it's less the pickup itself, but I was kind of struggling to think of a pickup this week, so I went with this.
Mine is the cards.
Yeah, see, I was going to do that one, but I feel like it would have been the only one.
So you briefly got to use the cards in the intro to episode 1 of the season, which turned out to be not reality. It was like an alternate reality when things went a certain way, but that didn't happen because you saw the future, so you changed it. Or specifically, Skunkape changed it. And that was the only time you got access to the cards before. So this is the first time Sam and Max actually have the cards. And in that intro, they weren't very interesting. Characters would give you little clues. In this episode, I think it's the most fun toy you have access to. It's you're all of the characters have interesting little things they're thinking all the time, and
that's how you get Sam's dialogue about Max not needing him anymore. Even
did he say eating him?
Needing him.
Oh yeah, we talked about that.
he just isn't eating him anymore these days.
Why is Sam not eating me out? Mac, damn it!
Okay,
I messed it up. Yeah, I like the cards.
I think we got the gist of it.
What are the cards called?
Oh shit, I don't even remember. I just called them the cards.
Yeah, they're playing cards that let you read minds. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Dustin, golden
Yeah.
moment.
Golden moment? I think it just has to be the whole last act. It's so good. The part with the Charlie Hotep showdown, the music, the dancing clones. It's such a striking visual because you're at the Statue of Liberty. You're not even in the city. You're away from the city, but you see it in the distance, and you're just at this big statue with these tentacles and all these Sam clones. It's bananas. It's absolute bonkers.
It is really good, and I should pick that section. But what I'm doing instead is when you're trying to get the chthonic destroyer from the other dimensions,
Mm-hmm.
the first time Sam comes back from one of those other dimensions and Max asks him, "Hey, how'd it go?" Sam goes, "Oh, it was fine. I just need to repress some of what I saw down deep into my subconscious." And then you see, I guess, an artist's depiction of Sam's subconscious with him just like flying, flapping his arms with wild abandon into the darkness of the void of his mind. And I just thought that was it lasted like 2 seconds, but I thought that was just a really funny cutaway.
Yeah, that was good. Oh, one thing I want to bring up, just because it's not even like that important, but if you use the future vision on Bluster Blaster and see what lies in store for him,
Yeah.
he's floating in space.
I don't remember what happens.
This is awesome.
I don't remember what happens to him, if anything, in the next episode. So I don't recall.
Yeah, this might be like far into the future.
Yeah, I don't recall why he is this way, if there is a reason given, but I love that just at some point he's lost to the void of space.
Yeah, but he's having a great time, so I guess good for him.
Yeah, and I guess he doesn't need to be plugged in.
Yeah, he's just on his own.
Most of the cops aren't shown to be plugged in either.
Yeah, because they're in the DeSoto.
But I can imagine them having batteries that they like recharge every night or so. If Bluster Blaster's just going through space, he's gonna run out of something at some point.
That's true.
But he likes
maybe
it.
He'll be found. Maybe he'll be found. Blah, blah, blah. Maybe he'll be found by some sort of alien civilization in a future Sam and Max season.
They always talk about how hurtling through space with no destination in mind is a bad thing. But what they don't mention is that it's fine if you like it.
That's true, yeah. I mean, he looked like he was having a great time, so why bother him?
Yeah, like he wasn't really serving society in any other kind of way. So it's fine that he's gone, and it's fine that this is what he's doing.
It's fine that he's gone.
Yeah, I mean...
I guess that's true. Even though I was overjoyed to see him, I guess it would be fine if he was gone.
He's not a member of cops anymore. It's just fine.
That breaks my heart. I don't like that. Because if you ask him about rejoining the cops, he says, that part of my life has been terminated. I like the cops as a group, but I guess things change, you know?
Yeah.
You gotta move on.
Dustin, how fast can we do linguistics gymnastics?
I have a few, but you do yours first this time. I feel like I've been starting out this time.
Can we cap both of ours at 4 each? Because I feel like this is a big episode for lines.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe my favorite line in the episode is Sal when he's being controlled by Charlie Hotep. Like, just if you wander around for a while, he eventually just says this out of nowhere. He says, "Guys, the master's laughing at you. Sorry, but that's how it is." And
I'd never got that. That's great.
Yeah, I love that line. Sorry, but that's how it is. Max at one point, when referring to Stinky when she's in a thrall, says, I wouldn't want to be the master when Stinky snaps out of it. She straight up hates thralls. Superball, when trying to conduct the seance, says, as a medium, I'm more of an extra small. Which is a great little joke from Superball. One of the rare instances of Superball making a joke. I liked it.
Yeah, and then Sam calls back to that later. When he comes back laughing from the dimensional destabilizer, and he's laughing hysterically. He says, "I just got that medium extra small joke." That's Super Ball.
Earlier in the episode, and this is my last one, when you see Sal out by the warehouse where he works now, if you use the cards on him and you read his mind, his inner thoughts are, "Doobie doobie doo, stacking some crates up, doobie doobie doo." And that's the only thing he's thinking about while he's stacking some crates up. And Max comments at that point about how Sal really is a pretty simple guy.
That's why we love him.
That's why we love him. Dustin, what are your linguistic gymnastics?
My linguistic gymnastics. So I'm going to start out with one from Sal too. Also when he's being hypnotized by Charlie Hotep. This is the one I thought you were going to say.
Okay.
But so if you talk to him, you're like, "Sal, snap out of it." And Sal says, he says, "Sal's not really here right now, guys. Only the, what do you call it? Indomitable will of the master."
Yeah.
Good. One line is from Bluster Blaster. It's not that funny, but the way he says it is very funny. When he gives you the letter, he yell. I forget if Sam asks him like, "So are you gonna go back for Bosco?" He says, "I never want anything to do with Bosco ever again." And
yeah,
he sounds so legit, like he never wants to deal with what happened.
Yeah. He would rather leave the planet, evidently, than talk to Bosco again.
That's true. Okay, third one. It's when Charlie Hotep's talking to Sam, and he says, "You're my slave, my pawn, my, what's the word? Puppet?" And then all of the Sam clones in unison go, "Ha ha ha, very ironic."
Yeah.
All right. Last one is when the toy box is breaking, and it's this big. It's super bright. It's this big display, and Sam says, "Close your eyes, Max." And Max goes, "Why? This is so cool." And Sam goes, "Hey, you're right." Okay, that's all I got.
Cool. Who's your weekly guy?
My weekly guy. This was tough since this week had a lot of really good characters.
It did.
I gave it to Charlie Hotep. I think he kind of steals the show, but only by like a pinch. I almost gave it to Bluster Blaster because I was so excited to see him and he has lots of great lines. But I mean, Charlie Hotep is just he sells this whole last act. And he's only in it for that last act. Well, I mean, you get him before that for a couple puzzles, but only for this last part of the game is he like an actual character.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, he makes a very strong impression. He has some funny lines. And it just throws you for a loop that what you thought was just one of the toys of the toy box is now the villain of the episode.
I still don't know why he's named that.
I don't either.
Other than it's just a good name.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe they just said, yeah, that's a good name for a dummy.
Mine's Sal a second time.
Yeah, I get it.
Sal's so good. I think Sal might be my favorite character in every episode he's in. Which
he's so good.
Maybe is a good reason he's only in 2, but also I'd like it more if he was in a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you won't have to worry about it pretty soon, maybe.
Well, I'm not worried, but I do like the guy.
Me too.
Guys, the master's laughing at you. Sorry, but that's how it is. Sounds great.
Only the what do you call it? Indomitable will of the master. Do you have an unweekly guy?
I do have an unweekly guy, and it's Harry.
I wonder if
it's Harry ass Mole Man again.
Okay. Oh, now that you reminded me, he only wanted his stamp collection. I get that, But at the time, I felt so bad for him for once, but it was ill-deserved.
It was almost Super Ball just because he doesn't do much, but Super Ball had that great extra small medium joke.
And you were like, sold.
Yeah, I like that guy. He's my favorite.
You won me over. He's your favorite character in all of Sam and Max.
Also,
My
a
weekly
strong
guy.
contender was Girl
Oh,
Stinky.
go ahead. Oh, yeah, she's very unhelpful in this episode.
Yeah, she's annoying. But I don't want to do that to my boy Sal.
Yeah, my unweekly guy is Grandpa Stinky for firing Sal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, how do you do that? He's such a good guy, and he just threw him out.
Just because he was a cockroachman.
Yeah, just because he was a big cockroachman. And,
Yeah.
and Sam even brings up, it's like, you never minded having cockroaches in the kitchen before, and he says, aye, tiny ones, tiny little cockroaches, not giant cockroachmen.
But Sal is more clean than
Yeah,
regular
I'm sure Sal
cockroaches.
washes his hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has sentience. He can choose to be a clean man.
If Sal has a bunch of germs on him like cockroaches do, then those germs would be so big.
Yeah, you would see him.
You would see those germs. You would just scrub them away. You would pick them up like lice.
Give Sal a nice bath.
Yeah, he's got a hard body. You could probably spray him down with some corrosive acid and just take off that first layer of whatever filth is there, and he'd be like, fine with it.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks
I'm
for getting
fine
rid of
with
my
this.
germs.
I really love that you just have to do a Patrick Warburton impression in your Sal.
That's what he is.
Yeah, he literally is just a Patrick Warburton impression.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got for today, Dustin. Anything else you wanted to touch on?
That's all I got. It is a very, very good episode. It's weird because I feel like playing it, when I was playing it, I was kind of like, am I going to like this episode as much as I used to? Because it used to be my second favorite too. Because like the whole, like we touched on before, the structure of the episode is a little weird. It kind of throws you off. But no, it's great. Like, even just talking about it now, there's so many like great moments that stand out, great lines, great characters. I still like episode 2 a little more. I feel like it was a little funnier and a little more interesting with its setting and the way it's structured. But I feel like this one's very close, and I think that finale part of it really brings it even closer. So it's like a very small pinch.
I think that episodes 2 and 4 of this season are, up to what we've played so far, the 2 best episodes of Sam and Max entirely.
I'd say they're the 2 best episodes of anything we've played on the show. But I guess most of what we've done on the show is Sam and Max.
At least in the top 3 of everything that we've played on the show. Because,
Yeah.
what are the other
would you say is the
contenders?
other
They
one?
feel so small in comparison now.
I know, right? Like, this season just blows the other ones away. I guess, Chariot of the Dogs, Ice Station Santa.
Yeah, like Reality 2.0.
Chariot of the Dogs is pretty out there. Yeah.
Chariot of the Dogs is cool. I don't think, in terms of doing, like, very reality bendy cool stuff, I think this next episode we're about to get into does it better, and episode 2 in the movie stuff does it better.
I'm
And,
excited to play this next episode because I remember not liking this next episode as much as episodes 4 or 2, but maybe that'll change.
Danger-esque 3, I think, was something that we considered one of the better episodes we played, and like it doesn't touch these. It's great, but
I love Danger-esque 3 for being Danger-esque 3, not for being a great Telltale game.
It's amazing how good they got at making point-and-click adventure games just for this season, and it's kind of the end of it.
Yeah, this is kind of the swan song. Was Walking Dead like right? No,
Walking
Back
Dead's
to the
like
Future was
3
after
years
this.
after this, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, Back to the Future and Jurassic Park were between this and Walking Dead, but both of those games are sort of like...
They're kind of in between.
They're prototyping the thing that Walking Dead will become.
Yeah.
Well, Jurassic
I
Park
totally
really
forgot
is the
Jurassic
first one
Park.
that does it. and then it was just bad, I guess.
Yeah, if I remember hearing right, people didn't really like it. I never played it.
When it's all about making a game that tells a story and then that story is bad, the game design can't really do much. Jurassic Park, I guess. And that's why...
But I guess we'll get to that someday.
Yeah. Someday. That turns out to be one of the most expensive Telltale games to acquire nowadays.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to shell out the cash for Jurassic Park.
Yeah, we'll have to figure something out.
Yeah.
I was hoping that by episode whatever this is, 25, we would have developed some way to extort money from our listeners. But that would require listeners. So, you know how that is.
Yeah, those of you listening, step it up, be a team player.
Yeah, buy us these $200 games that we need in order to persevere. Please.
Yeah, then we'll talk about them for an hour.
And then we'll talk about you for a minute, I guess.
Yeah, we'll talk about you for a minute, and then the episode for maybe a few minutes, and then we'll see where it goes.
Dustin, where can people
find you? Then we'll talk about Epic Mickey.
Where can we talk to you about Epic Mickey?
You know what? You can send all of your Epic Mickey questions to Amazing DJ Dustin on Twitter, or you can send them to my art Twitter, Dustin Doodles. Maybe send it to the other one. The other one's for artwork. But, Mitch, I would love to know where they could ask you questions about other video games.
You can ask me about a boy and his blob at twitter.com/thewolffm, or by searching on twitter.com for @thewolffm. That's TheWolffEFM.
I'll do that.
Next episode, we're going to be covering the last Sam & Max episode.
It's crazy that it's so soon. We're almost done. And this won't be the last time we see the characters, but it will be the last time they have a season to themselves.
Sam & Max is the thing that made me really like Telltale games. And
same.
They seem to not be around anymore. So this, at least in the form that they have been previously. So this really is the last episode of Sam & Max in that way. It not counting the VR game. I'm a little choked up about it, Dustin. I'm a little choky.
I am too. I don't know if I'm ready to be done with Sam & Max. I'm even though this season blew away the past two seasons, I've liked every season of Sam & Max. Before I replayed season 1, I was thinking, season 1's not that great. It's this was them just starting with Sam & Max. They were just learning the ropes. But no, going back and replaying it's great. It's very funny, and I had a great time. So, I don't know if I'm ready to be done with Sam & Max. I have a proposition, though.
Okay.
Mitchell. I guess not a proposition, but...
An amendment.
An idea.
Okay, one of those.
Yes. I wanted to run it by you. How would you feel if once the remasters for these seasons are out, we just do one episode talking about the remaster, like just one episode talking about the whole remaster trilogy, just like talking about things they improved, a little stroll down memory lane, a little special episode where we reminisce about Sam & Max and seeing them with a new coat of paint.
For each remaster, or like...
No, just one episode covering all three.
Oh, for sure. I would say so. If the show's still going when that happens.
Yeah.
If the show is still going when that happens, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because I feel like we'd be kind of doing them a disservice to not revisit them. And also, I'm just like dying to see how season 3 is going to look remastered.
I hope it looks so good.
Yeah, like, because season 3 kind of does some different things with the visuals. So I wonder if they're going to keep that in mind. Like, I figure they would. But, like, will it have the grainy effect over it? One thing I'm really looking forward to is playing it in 60 FPS, because I don't want to say it's like really chunky playing these on Steam, but they're a little chunky. They're a little not as smooth as they could be, but that's fine. It was a different time.
Yeah, they're beautiful games, but they do every once in a while run into some technical stuff. I've encountered a bug several times that just has an image of the analog stick on the screen, stuck on the screen, while I'm doing other stuff.
I haven't seen that.
It's giant,
I've encountered
too.
a bug in Sam and Max too, but he hasn't been in season 3 so far, just in the first 2 seasons.
Well, there's Cockroachman.
Yeah, but I mean the bug.
The bug.
I'm a bug.
I am a bug! He does...
Man, if only he and Sal could have gotten to meet each other.
Maybe Sal is a grown-up bug.
Oh, man, the lore.
The lore.
Well, no, that wouldn't work because
it's bad,
Sal is already in the kitchen.
Yeah, it was wrong, but you don't need to be a guy about it. You can just say...
I was real excited about it for 2 seconds.
If you catch us next week, that's probably because you've subscribed to our podcast and get notifications when that happens. If you haven't, you won't know when we launch our next episode of the podcast, specifically about Sam and Max, The Devil's Playhouse, Episode 5, The City That Dares Not Sleep. The last entry in the Sam and Max series for over 11 years.
It's funny because that doesn't even sound like a jokey joke Sam and Max title. It's not like Ice Station Santa or What's New Beelzebub. That's just like a dramatic story title. Yeah,
well, Beyond the Alley of the Dolls is also sort of that. Because like the joke in Beyond the Alley of the Dolls is that it's an alley instead of a valley, which isn't a joke. That's just a different thing. That's a lateral move, and not a move toward comedy.
Wow, harsh, but true.
Well, yeah, so that episode's coming out. Please remember to subscribe, and if you can, give us a like or a review or comment, or tell a friend, or record it on vinyl and sell it in a store.
On vinyl would be novel.
If you take an episode of this podcast and press it to vinyl and sell it in a store, you can keep 90% of the profits before sending some our way.
Yeah, but don't do it. A ghost might come out.
A ghost? Okay. This is the first I'm hearing about this, but I trust Dustin. Apparently, a ghost might come out.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to chance it.
Okay. I didn't know about this, but I guess maybe don't do it because a ghost might come out. And until next time, we'll see ya.
Catch ya on the flip side.
Is that a joke? Did you say flip side like it's a joke?
No.